Hello students, I hope you all are doing great. Welcome back to the daily news analysis with your educator Prithviraj Singh. Today we'll be understanding the important news articles of 27th April 2022. Guys, there has been a news article on the front page of the Hindu where Prime Minister Modi has inaugurated various projects in the valley of Jammu and Kashmir. We all know that Jammu Kashmir was being transformed into a union territory with state assembly with the abrogation of Article 370, which was to give the special status to the state of Jammu Kashmir. Prime Minister Modi has told the youth that they would be reducing the distance between Delhi and Jammu Kashmir, right? So as they say that reducing Delhi se duri, this is the slogan of the government. And on the National Panchayati Raj Day, guys, you would be knowing that Panchayati Raj institutions were given the legal constitutional status by 73rd Amendment Act 1992. Panchayati Raj institutions were given the constitutional legal status under 73rd Amendment Act 1992, which actually inserted Schedule 11 into the Constitution, and it revived Part 9 of the Constitution, which talks about the Panchayati Raj institutions, right? Now, although it was enacted in the year 1992, but it came into force with effect from 24th April 1993. So it came into force on 24th of April 1993, and on this day the country celebrates the Panchayati Raj Day or National Panchayati Raj Day, because from this day onwards the 73rd Amendment Act of 1992 came into force, right? So very, very important, 24th April 1993 is the date when this act got commenced or with effect from. So they may ask you that which among the following dates is being celebrated as the National Panchayati Raj Day. So the answer would be 24th April, right? So this is the day. And here we have also understood a second concept, that 73rd Amendment Act 1992 came into force from 24th April 1993. So on the same day, 24th April, Prime Minister Modi went to Jammu Kashmir to actually mark the celebration of National Panchayati Raj Day, and here he actually inaugurated various projects. There are some river projects, there are some tunnels being built by the government. As you can see on the screen, the Banihal Kazigand Road Tunnel, recently inaugurated by the central government, the Banihal Kazigand Road Tunnel, and it would reduce the distance by around 6 to 8 hours. So it is a big achievement of the central government. So this is very, very important, Banihal Kazigand Road Tunnel. At the same time, the village in the Union Territory of Jammu Kashmir named Palli Village will from now onwards be run on the solar power. In this sense, Palli Village has become country's first panchayat to become carbon neutral और फुल्ली पावर्ड बाय सोलर एनर्जी, राइट? तो इंडिया के अंदर पहला ऐसा विलेज है, इट इज़ द फर्स्ट पंचायती राज और पंचायत इन इंडिया. यहाँ पे पल्ली विलेज में यू हैव अ पंचायत, एंड देन इट हैज़ बिकम द फर्स्ट पंचायत इन द कंट्री टू बिकम कार्बन न्यूट्रल, एंड दैट मीन्स it would be fully run over the renewable sources of energy, and in this case they have decided to power it by solar energy, right? So the Palli village will be run on solar energy, right? So in this sense, it is the first panchayat in the country to become carbon neutral. Very, very important takeaway, students. Palli village, and I have a strong conviction that it may be asked in the examination. Palli village to become the first carbon neutral village in the country to run completely on solar power, right? So very, very important, and I expect a question on this. Right, guys, we all know that Prime Minister Modi went to attend, I mean the government headed by Prime Minister Modi went to attend Conference of Parties 26, which was held at Glasgow in Scotland, and there the Prime Minister actually, you know, set the renewable energy target of how much? Give the answer in the comment box. So the answer, so the renewable energy target set is 500 gigawatt, right? 500 gigawatt, and this has to be achieved by the year 2030, right? So in this sense, the renewable energy target which was set by the government of India is 500 gigawatt to be achieved by the year 2030, right? So in this sense, we are going in the right direction, because already we are around 250 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity. So we are actually heading into the right direction, and Prime Minister Modi has said that there are many investors, you know, foreign investors who are looking to invest in the Union Territory of Jammu Kashmir, and one among them is United Arab Emirates, UAE. Investors from the UAE are excited to invest in the Union Territory of Jammu Kashmir. Guys, we know that recently the government of India has signed a free trade agreement with UAE. You must know that UAE is the third largest export destination for India. Very, very important. Plus, it is the 9th largest investor in India, right? So therefore, the free trade agreement with UAE would definitely, you know, would usher benefits to the economic benefits to the country, and UAE is excited to invest in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, right? So as you can see, Prime Minister Modi sitting with the ministers and inaugurating various projects estimated at 20,000 crore in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, right? So there are water projects also over the Chenab River, like Ratle Power Project and Kuar Hydel Project. In Kishtwar Valley, there are projects on Chambal River, and they would help in the electricity generation, right? Now, post the abrogation of Article 370, there has been, you know, implementation of around 175 central laws in Jammu Kashmir since August 2019. So very big achievement. And at the same time, you know, the women have also been benefited, because earlier their rights were being curtailed because of you know, various sections. The tribals were not given the reservation in the assembly, but the new delimitation commission has, for the first time in the history of Jammu Kashmir, reserved 9 seats for tribes in the Vidhan Sabha of Jammu and Kashmir. So it's a big achievement, and the government is actually working for the development of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. For the first time, guys, you know, the 3-tier elections to the Panchayati Raj would be conducted. We all know that the 73rd Amendment Act, as which I have just mentioned, has declared 3 tiers of the government. 3 tiers are the Panchayati Raj institutions. We know at the grassroots level there is Gram Panchayat. At the intermediate level there is Panchayat Samiti. And at the apex level there is Zilla Panchayat, also called as Jilla Parishad. So it's a 3-tier structure, right? And for the first time in the history of Jammu Kashmir, the elections to all the tiers of the Panchayati Raj institutions got conducted, were held successfully, right? So they were held peacefully for the first time. And so this is very important, and I expect many questions from this article. I hope it is clear, guys. Coming to the next news article. As I just mentioned, Palli in Jammu Kashmir, continuing from the first article, becomes India's first carbon neutral panchayat. And here the government is, it's a major step towards achieving the Glasgow goal. And the government is also digitizing the, the land records under its Swamitwa scheme. and so the article talks about the same, right? So do read this, very very important. Coming to the, in continuation with the first article, Ratle and Kwar power projects. So guys, they may ask you that which among the following hydro power projects were recently being inaugurated by the government of India in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So the answer would be Ratle and Kwar power projects, right? So Ratle is 850 megawatt hydel power project. Kwar is 540 megawatt hydel power project. They may ask you that over which river they have been constructed. Very important, they have been constructed over Chenab river, which is one of the tributaries of Indus, right? We all know, guys, that there are 5 tributaries of Indus, although they are mentioned in here: Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Byas and Satluj, right? So in order from north to south, they are Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Byas and Satluj, and they all meet the Indus river, right? So over Chenab river in the Kishtwar district of the Union Territory of Jammu Kashmir, as you can see, guys, here Chenab originating somewhere from the Kullu hills in Himachal Pradesh, somewhere here, and it flows down to Jammu Kashmir, and in the Kishtwar district, here is your Kishtwar district, and here the two dams are being dams are being built over which the power projects are constructed, the Ratle and the Kwar power project over the Chenab river, which in turn meets Jhelum in Pakistan, and Jhelum in turn meets Ravi in turn meets Satluj, and then Indus, and then they drop their water in the Arabian Sea, right? So I expect a question on this. I hope it is clear. So the same in continuation, Banihal Kazigand Road Tunnel. As I said, that this tunnel is being constructed because you all know that Jammu Kashmir is a hilly terrain. It is a Himalayan region, and you have to you have to cut and dig the mountains in order to have the tunnels and to cut short the distance. So Banihal Kazigand Road Tunnel would be built, and it's already being completed, and it would reduce the distance between Banihal and Kazigand by 16 kilometer, and thus reduce the journey time by around 2 hours. So it's a big achievement, and the government is ensuring that they do the development in the Union Territory of Jammu Kashmir. I hope it is clear. Moving to the next news article. About the consumer spending survey. Now, this article, guys, talks about the All India Household Consumer Expenditure Survey. Means what are the expenses, right? In what all areas a particular household spends money, right? घर में कितना लोग किस किस एरिया में पैसा खर्च करते हैं, राइट? उसके ऊपर भी सर्वे होता है, एंड दिस इज कॉल्ड एज ऑल इंडिया हाउसहोल्ड कंज्यूमर एक्सपेंडिचर सर्वे. नाउ द गाइज, देयर इज अ मिनिस्ट्री called as Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, and it has an agency, an organization called as Central Statistics Organization, correct? Central Statistics Organization, and under Central Statistics Organization, there is a field agency to implement the schemes or to do the surveys called as National Statistics Office, right? So this actually is the field agency working under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, and this is also tasked with the calculation of the macroeconomic indicators like GDP, GNP, national income, so on and so forth, right? Now, the All India Household Consumer Expenditure Survey will be conducted between July 2022 and June 2023. That means the survey would take around 1 year to complete. Now the question is, what's the big deal? The big deal, or something which makes it, to be in the news, is that the last survey was done in the year 2011-12. I mean, the last survey whose findings were made public was conducted in the year 2011-12. Post that, there was one survey taking place in the year 2017-18, right? So another survey, household consumer expenditure survey, was done in the year 2017-18, but its data was never released. Its data was never released. Why? Because there was, for the first time, the drop in the monthly per capita household spending since 1972-73. So for the first time after 1972-73, there was a drop in the monthly per capita household spending, with the rise in poverty incidence. So the poverty is increasing definitely, and there was a drop in the monthly per capita household, right? So therefore, because of these adverse outcomes reflecting a decline in spending, the government decided not to actually publish or release the data of 2017-18 All India Household Consumer Expenditure Survey. Now, the question is being asked, when was the last consumer expenditure survey, All India Household Consumer Expenditure Survey, conducted? So the answer would be 2017-18, right? If the question is specific, that in which year the consumer expenditure surveys data was released, the last consumer expenditure data release, so it was in the year 2011-12, right? So it may be called as the complete consumer expenditure survey whose data was released, right? The data for 2017-18 consumer expenditure survey was not released because of the reasons which I just stated, right? So I hope we are clear with these two statements, and the examiner might actually grill you on these lines, right? Now, it is being conducted every 5 years, which is something to be noted upon, and it assesses the poverty levels and consumption pattern across the country, right? Because when you are able to gauge the consumer expenses in various areas, you will be in the position to determine the poverty incidence in the country, the poverty level, the consumption patterns across the country, right? And based on this, you can rebase your GDP calculations, right? Because as of today, the GDP is being calculated at the base year of 2011-12, right? Now the time has come to revise this, the base year, and this would be based only on the findings of the new consumer expenditure survey. I hope you are getting my point. So we are clear with 2-3 details which the examiner also might ask you. So these are the things which I wanted to make it clear. Monthly per capita consumer expenditure. Definitely there are separate data sets for the rural and urban parts, so on and so forth, right? Very important article right on the first page. Please go through it. I hope it is clear. Let us move ahead. Guys, Vice President Sri Venkaiah Naidu, in one of the conference in Bangalore, he said that he actually explored the loopholes in the Anti-Defection Law. He said that it allows the wholesale defection but not the retail defection. We all know, students, that defection means, what is defection? Defection means you are leaving your own political party on whose ticket you contested the elections, and after the result of the elections, you leave your parent party and join some other political party in lure of some political berth, some cabinet profile, or big amount, big cash, right? So therefore, in order to curb the practice, this unethical practice of defection, in the year 1985, Constitution was amended, 52nd Amendment Act of the year 1985, and this inserted 10th schedule into the Constitution of India, right? 1985. And this talks about the anti-defection law. Very, very important. I strongly expect a question on this. Defection is, I would repeat again, you contest the elections from a particular party's ticket, and after the result of the election, you actually, give up that party, you withdraw from that party and join some other political party. Possibly आपको ministerial berth मिल रहा है या बहुत सारा पैसा मिल रहा है. इस तरीके से तोड़ मोड़ के जो है गवर्नमेंट बनाई जाती है, especially in the coalition regime when no single party is able to form the government, right? So in order to curb this unethical practice of defection, anti-defection law or ADL was formed by amending the constitution under 52nd Amendment Act 1985, and which inserted 10th schedule in the constitution. Right. Now originally it was saying that, I mean, it was protecting one third members. That means 1/3 members from any political party can leave that party and can join another party, and that would not be called as defection. That means if it happens that 1/3 members are leaving their parent political party and joining another political party, they would be protected under the anti-defection law. Let's say there are 30 members in any party. Let's say there are 30 MLAs. 1/3 of 30 is 10, right? 10, this is party A, let's assume, and then these 10 members go and join party B. So that was very much allowed. That means 1/3 of the total number of MLAs, winning MLAs, victorious MLAs from any particular party can leave their parent party and can join any other political party. That was completely okay, was fine. They were being protected, right? Now this was very lenient, right? Very easy. You can break off 1/3 members and can join these members can join any other political party. Now it happened in the year 2003 by 91st Constitutional Amendment Act of the year 2003, which said that this 1/3 criteria should be made more stringent, more difficult to 2/3. That means earlier 1/3 members were allowed to leave their party and join the other political party. I hope you're getting my point. Now it was made more difficult, that now from 2003 onwards, it is 2/3. That means it is 66.66% and not 33%. That means 2/3 members would be given protection under the anti-defection law. That means now 2/3 members are required to protect themselves from the anti-defection law. 2/3 members can leave their party and can join any other party, and they would not be charged under the anti-defection law, right? So if I say 2/3 of 30 MLAs, in my case it would be 20 MLAs. So earlier the condition for in my example was 10 MLAs joining party B. Now it was made to 20 MLAs. That means it was made more difficult, right? Now definitely I agree that it has been made difficult, but what about the small states like Goa, which has just 40 seats? Many northeast states which just has around 30 seats. There the defection 2/3 is a very small figure, right? So therefore defections are taking place, and therefore Mr. Shri Venkaiah Naidu, the Vice President of the country, said that this law is allowing the wholesale defection. So this is wholesale defection. 2/3 of the members leaving their party allowed, but not retail defection. Are you getting? So wholesale defection चलता है, but retail मतलब कि अगर 2/3 से कम अगर छोड़ के जा रहे हैं, so that is not allowed. So it is a sarcastic statement being put forth by Shri Venkaiah Naidu. I hope it is clear, and I expect the questions on these lines. Very important. We have understood 52nd Amendment 1985. We have talked about the initial provisions of 1/3 and how 1/3 was being made more stringent to 2/3 by 91st Amendment Act 2003. I hope it is clear. Number one. Now if the question is being asked that who would actually decide over the disqualification of such members, because those who are found defecting their party, leaving their party, are being disqualified. So they are being, guys, disqualified. They are being disqualified by speaker if the member is from either Lok Sabha or any state legislative assembly, or by the chairperson if any member is from Rajya Sabha or any state legislative council, right? So if any member from Rajya Sabha is defecting, then the chairperson of Rajya Sabha would disqualify such member, and if the defection takes place in Lok Sabha, then the speaker is the final authority to disqualify such member under Anti-Defection Law, 52nd Amendment Act 1985. I hope it is clear. I'm sure that I'm making it easy to understand. Now the question is being asked that is there any time frame over which the presiding officer of the house, that is speaker and the chairperson, can give their decision? Guys, you would be surprised to learn that there has been no time frame. That means 3 months, 3 years, 1 year. There is no time frame mentioned in the constitution or otherwise in any law which talks about the time in which the speaker or the chairperson has to give their decision with regard to the disqualification. Because of this reason, many disqualification cases are pending, are lying idle with the speaker or the chairperson, right? And no decision has been taken till the time the decisions are taken, the tenure of the house is over, or possibly the tenure of that member gets completed, the term of that member gets completed, right? So although we have a law, but then it is not being followed in letter and spirit, right? So therefore it has to be reformed, and as they say that some cases are taking 6 months and some cases even 3 years and no decision is being taken. Number two. Now the question comes that what would happen, can a person challenge the decision of speaker, chairperson? Yes, very much. The decision of the speaker and chairperson can be challenged in the Supreme Court. If any legislator is not happy with the decision of speaker and the chairperson, he can always move the Supreme Court of India, right? I hope it is clear. So this is there. Now apart from that, there are a few more things which have to be explored. That what about the independent members? What about the independent members? Independent members, because we all know that there are some independent members in the legislatures which contest the election. They don't contest from any party ticket, but they contest on their own, like independent members. Are they covered under Anti-Defection Law? The question is yes, they are very much covered under the Anti-Defection Law. That means if they contest as an independent member, within 6 months, they have to declare that whether they are to join any political party post the expiry of 6 months. That means post the expiry of 6 months, if they join any party, any different political party, then their membership would be disqualified, right? So that is the second thing which we need to understand. And the same happens for the nominated members also. We all know that there are 12 members nominated members in Rajya Sabha, 12 nominated members. They also, if at all they want to join any political party, they have to join within 6 months of their election results, post which their membership would be disqualified, right? I hope it is clear. Apart from this, there is also something called as whip of the party. Party whip, which says that, let us say party A has, there is a vote on a particular bill in the parliament, and party A has declared, has asked all its members to vote in support of that bill, right? In support of that bill. That means whenever that bill would be there for the voting in the parliament, you have to cast your vote in support or in favor of that particular bill. Now this is a whip or direction. This is a whip or direction issued by the whip of the party, which is a senior member of any political party, the whip, right? Now, if any member of the party goes against this direction or against this whip, then also he or she would be disqualified under Anti-Defection Law. Now, there are many people who have actually protested against this, because this is actually killing your Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause A, which talks about freedom of speech and expression. Because if you cannot express your mind, you cannot express your conscience, the whip is being issued, you have to vote in the support of that bill because of the direction issued by the High Command. You cannot vote against it. So it is actually killing your freedom of speech and expression. So there is no point of then Article 19. It's a clear violation of Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause A. So that is the reason why it has been protested by many people in the country. So guys, the time has come that Anti-Defection Law has to be relooked, has to be reformed and revamped, right? So this is what Shri Venkaiah Naidu, the Vice President of the country, was actually saying on the celebration day of National Panchayati Raj Day, which we have learned is being celebrated on 24th of April every year. I hope it is clear. So we'll actually explore this article as I just mentioned. No time frame mentioned. The things that I just mentioned, you can see on the board. Right, so there are many loopholes which has to be explored, and the amendment does not recognize a split in a legislature party and instead recognizes a merger, right? So there are many recommendations, so on and so forth. That Election Commission has suggested that it should be the deciding authority in actually the defection cases. Many have also said that there must be an independent tribunal, so on and so forth, right? So I hope we are clear with the same. Coming to the next news article, guys. Andhra Pradesh Assam border dispute. We all know, guys, that before independence, what we had was the province of Assam, a very big governor's province, and from this province many northeast states were later being crafted out. For example, Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, so on and so forth, right? Now, because of this crafting out, the boundaries of these states were not clear. Many states claim that, including Arunachal Pradesh, that the tribal people living there were not properly consulted before actually the boundary of the state was demarcated. And there are disputes in various districts. Arunachal Pradesh says that there are disputes in 1200 districts. So the boundary of 1200 districts is contentious, and it claims that these districts actually lie in their territory or partially lie in their territory, but then Assam claims it, and therefore this has to be resolved, right? So guys, Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister, they may ask you that who is the Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh? So that would be Pema Khandu, and his Assam counterpart is Hemant Biswa Sharma, right? Have decided to form a district level committee for settling their interstate boundary disputes. Guys, you may be knowing that Government of India has recently said that they would be resolving all the boundary states, they would be resolving all the boundary disputes between the states in the northeast by 15th August 2022, this year. Because on this year, India would be completing its 75 years of independence. Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav, right? So when the country is celebrating Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav or 75 years of its independence on 15th August 2022, the Government of India has decided that by this date, all the boundary disputes should in the northeast should be resolved. And in that direction, we all know, you might have read the newspaper, that recently Assam Meghalaya border dispute, was also being sorted out, was being resolved by the mediation of Home Minister Mr. Amit Shah. Assam and Meghalaya also, there were disputes, some give and take happened. Some territories of Meghalaya were being transferred to Assam, some from Assam were being transferred to Meghalaya. So there was a give and take, right? So the government is moving in the right direction, and actually taking the inspiration or hope from the success of Assam Meghalaya border resolution, the prime ministers of Arunachal and Assam also actually are putting efforts to resolve the boundary dispute or border dispute. I hope it is clear. Alright guys, so as you can see, Nagaland became the state in the year 1963, was the first to become crafted out from Assam. Meghalaya became the first autonomous state in the year 1970 and first and full-fledged state in the year 1972, right? So in this sense, we can see that Nagaland was the first state to become, region to become a state crafted out from Assam in the year 1963. Meghalaya became the fully-fledged state in the year 1972, so it was the second one. And then Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram became the full-fledged state in the year 1987. So in the chronological order, first was Nagaland, 1963. You add almost 9 years, you'll get Meghalaya becoming the state, and then you add almost 16 years, and you'll arrive at 1987, Arunachal and Mizoram to become the states, right? Now, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam says that they have prepared a report as per in the year 1951, and under this report, the boundary that they have decided is constitutional boundary. It is a constitutional demarcation, and they believe that Arunachal Pradesh must follow it. On the other hand, Arunachal Pradesh says that the tribal people, the local tribal people, were not being consulted before the state was crafted out, and there are 1200 places, 1200 places over which the dispute is there. They are contested completely or partially, right? So let us move ahead. So as you can see on the map, Arunachal and Assam and the division, and so there is a boundary dispute at 1200 places, right? It has to be resolved by the two states. So there are disputes at 1200 points, and the issue dates back to the year 1873, when the British government introduced the inner line regulation. Very important. Inner line regulation is something which is being done by which was done by the British authorities, which separate the hilly region from the plain region, right? So for example, if it is inner line regulation, this is, let's say, the hilly region or hilly terrain, and these are the plain regions, plain areas, right? So the inner line actually divides the hilly region from the plain region. It separates the plain from the frontier hills, and these frontier hills were being later named as Northeast Frontier Tracts in the year 1915, and these Northeast Frontier Tracts became NEFA, Northeast Frontier Agency, which was also one of the British governor province, right? So Northeast Frontier Agency, or NEFA, was declared in the year 1954. It is also one among the 11 British governors provinces, 3 years after the notification based on 1951 report, right? However, Arunachal Pradesh has been celebrating its statehood on a grand scale with an eye on China since 1987, the year in which it was declared as a full-fledged state. Earlier it was definitely a union territory, as we know, but then Arunachal says that the tribes were not consulted, and and that is the reason why their customary rights over the lands are violated, are violated, and Arunachal Pradesh actually claims the 1200 points over which there is a dispute between Arunachal and Assam, right? So this article is important, and definitely the success of Assam Meghalaya boundary agreement actually gives them energy to go ahead with the resolution of the Assam Arunachal Pradesh boundary dispute. Moving to the next news article, guys. Urja Prawaha. Now, Urja Prawaha is a new vessel, by the Indian Navy. A new vessel, sorry, it's not Indian Navy, it's Indian Coast Guard, ICG, Indian Coast Guard. And Indian Coast Guard has inducted a new vessel called as Urja Prawaha, and it was inducted at Gujarat's Bharuch seaport, right? So they may ask you, and I expect a question on this, which among the following is the new vessel, is the name of the new vessel inducted by Indian Coast Guard? So the answer would be Urja Prawaha at Gujarat's Bharuch. New article, next news article. Gujarat has got India's first portable solar rooftop system. Guys, we have all learned about and we have seen the rooftop solar systems, but the portable solar system, it's like a desk. You can keep it anywhere on your roof, and it has solar panels, the battery solar cells are attached to it, and it would tap the solar energy and it would convert it into electrical energy, right? So country's first portable, right? That means you can port it to any other location. Country's first portable solar rooftop system has now been installed in Gandhinagar in Gujarat. In this sense, it is country's first portable solar rooftop system. Very, very important. They may ask you which of the following states has recently got India's first portable rooftop system, solar rooftop system. So the answer would be Gujarat, Gandhinagar. It requires low maintenance, highly cost effective, can be installed by a single person. You don't require some engineers, etc. It can be installed even by a single person, right? Next news article, guys. The dispute over the Falkland Islands. Now, this has surfaced the news articles in the past few days. The dispute over the Falkland Islands. We know that Prime Minister of UK, England, Boris Johnson was there in India, and a dialogue was being signed between India and Argentina in the presence of UK, called as the Commission for Dialogue with UK on the Falkland Islands. I repeat, it is a Commission for Dialogue with the United Kingdom on the Falkland Islands, and it is being inaugurated by India and Argentina. Guys, Falkland Island, I'll just give you the geographical map, is actually an island group in the Atlantic Ocean, right? The Atlantic Ocean, which is there between the American continent and the European continent, right? The S-shaped Atlantic Ocean, correct? Now, near Argentina, which is the part of South America, in the southern America, to the east coast in the Atlantic Ocean, there is an island group called as Falkland Islands. It is divided into West Falkland and East Falkland, and it has its main city, called as Stanley. And to the south, there is Sandwich Islands, right? Now, this island is being under the occupation by the British forces, right? During the imperialism era, Britishers were actually ruling this island. We also know that Argentina was the colony of Spain, right? And when Spain, left Argentina, Argentinians started claiming the Falkland Islands, and therefore there was a battle between the British forces and the Argentina, and definitely it led to the victory of Britain. And today Falkland Islands are being claimed by Britain, right? So this is the geographical position of Falkland Islands, as you can see here, right? So as you can see, this is an Atlantic Ocean, the Southern Atlantic Ocean, the North Atlantic Ocean, Europe, England, and how the Falkland Islands are there located near Argentina, Falkland Island group. Then you have another island group called as South Georgia, and then you have South Sandwich Islands. Now they are being claimed by UK, and equally by Argentina, and there is a dispute between Argentina and England, right? It's a long-standing dispute over the sovereignty of Falkland Islands, South Georgia, and Sandwich Islands, right? So this is your Falkland Island group, as we just learned, resulted from a long-standing dispute over the sovereignty of Falkland Islands, South Georgia, and Sandwich Islands, and there are different claims to territories which began in the year 1820. There were United Nations negotiations in the year 1965-1982. There is also a conflict which began on 1982 when Argentine forces invaded and occupied the Falkland Island. We all have understood that Argentina was also the colony of Spain, and post the withdrawal of Spain, Argentinians actually invaded the Falkland Island and South Georgia, which were claimed by England. And this conflict lasted for around 2.5 months, 74 days, and ended with the Argentine surrender in 1982. And these islands were later being returned to England, right? So this is what we actually learned in the discussion just held a few minutes back. This led to increased patriotism in Argentina, leading to fall of the military government in Argentina and success of Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher was the prime minister. She was the prime minister of Britain, and this led to the success of Margaret Thatcher and changing the cultural perspectives, right? So this issue has again resurfaced when India and Argentina has set up the Commission for Dialogue with United Kingdom and on the Falkland Islands. So the question may be asked that Falkland Island dispute is between which two countries? So the answer would be UK and Argentina, number one. Number two, they may ask you that Falkland Islands are located in which ocean? So it is Atlantic Ocean near Argentina. Guys, Falkland Islands are also called as, locally named as, called as Islas Malvinas. Islas Malvinas is the local name for in Argentinian language in Argentina. And as I said that in the year 1965, Britishers were the first to settle the West Falkland, but they were driven off in the year 1770 by the Spanish forces because Spain occupied Argentina and Argentina was a colony of Spain. But the British outpost on the West Falkland actually was restored in the year 1771 after the threat of war. But then the British withdrew from the island in the year 1774 for economic reasons, right? They did withdraw from the Falkland Island, but without renouncing their claim to the Falkland, right? So although they withdrew from the Falkland, but still their claim they didn't give up, right? They didn't give up and still they claimed the Falkland Islands. Spain maintained a settlement on East Falkland, which it called Soledad Island, right? So as we have learned that there are two groups, West Falkland and East Falkland. Over the East Falkland, Spain has its claim. Over the West Falkland, UK has its claim, right? So this issue has again resurfaced, and India is actually mediating to resolve this issue over the Falkland Islands, right? So this is what this actually article is talking about. The war ended with the surrender of the Argentine forces, and the British troops had to forcibly reoccupy the islands. And although there was a referendum, guys, very important, in the year March 2013, where the people of Falkland Islands voted to remain a British Overseas Territory, BOT. So people in the referendum have accepted and they have voted unanimously to remain a British Overseas Territory, right? But still Argentina claims it, and therefore Indian government is actually deliberating over its resolution. I hope it is clear. The next news article was about the rule of law. You can just see it, although we discussed in the yesterday's discussion in the daily news analysis. It is about the demolition by the North Delhi Municipal Corporation, the demolition drive at the Jahangirpuri in the northwest of New Delhi, and how Olga Tellis versus Bombay Municipal Corporation case of the year 1985 was being discussed in the daily news analysis. You can just listen, you can watch yesterday's daily news analysis of yesterday, and you'll find we have explored the Olga Tellis case, where right to livelihood was been declared as an integral part of right to life. Correct. So that has already been discussed. At the same time, there are some more cases which are being mentioned in this article, like Ajay Maken versus Union of India 2019. Now in this case, it concerns the legality of the demolition of Shakur Bhasti, and in this case the Delhi High Court held that no authority shall carry out eviction without conducting a survey. That means before you order the bulldozers to completely destroy and destruct the properties, you do proper survey. You consult the people out there, consulting the population that it seeks to evict, right? And then you give the proper compensation and the rehabilitation of them, that where they would be resettled or rehabilitated, right? Post that only you can go ahead with the demolition drives. So Ajay Maken case is also something which is important, and right to city, right to adequate housing of the slum dwellers were being explored. Similarly, in Sudama Singh versus Government of Delhi, again a case of the year 2010, it mandated that the state should comply with fair procedure. That means the procedure that is being used by the government must be due, must be just, reasonable and fair, right? It must be a fair procedure before undertaking any eviction, which got further crystallized in the Delhi slum and JJ rehabilitation and relocation policy of the year 2015. तो एक पॉलिसी बन गई थी 2015 में आफ्टर सुदामा सिंह केस इन द ईयर 2010. At the same time, occupiers of 51 Olivier Road, Barrier Township versus City of Johannesburg, ये भी आया था केस जिसके अंदर रिहैबिलिटेशन के बारे में बात करी गई थी. एंड ओल्गा तेलिस वर्सेस बॉम्बे म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन 1985, we all already discussed yesterday, right? So this is something which you can keep in mind. It is important for the UPSC aspirants also. Ajay Maken versus Union of India and Sudama Singh versus Government of Delhi 2010. I hope it is clear. Then there was an article about the polio eradication. A new outbreak has come to the world of polio, which is polio vaccine which is being administered, the oral polio vaccine, OPV. From this vaccine a mutation has taken place, and this is called as CVDPV3 outbreak, right? And this is a vaccine mutated virus, a wild polio virus type 1, WPV1, and it is being caused by circulating vaccine derived polio virus type 3, right? When a virus in oral polio vaccine OPV deattenuates by mutations, and then it acquires transmission efficiency and neurovirulence, it is called as CVDPV, right? So it explores the same, that the eradication target when it was launched, it was 1988, then it was 2000, and India was definitely successful in its experiment. But again, this is a new outbreak which the world has to be careful of, right? So this is all about the same. You can just read it through, right? Then very important, Prime Minister Modi has received the country's first Lata Mangeshkar Award. We all know that a few days back, the last month, the nightingale of the country, Lata Mangeshkar, passed away, and an award has been constituted in her memory called as Lata Mangeshkar Award. And the first person to receive the Lata Mangeshkar Award is Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So guys, they may ask you in the exam that which among the following is the first recipient of Lata Dinanath Mangeshkar Award. So the answer would be Modi. Modi, who is an international statesman, and who has put India on the path of global leadership, right? So this is also something which is a factual information important for the exams. So I hope, guys, it was an interesting session. Stay tuned for more such update. Do press the like button and do like, share and comment for the regular updates. That's all for today. Wish you all the best. See you in the next class. Good day. Goodbye.